Hi,
Hello.
everyone.
How is everyone today?
Good, thanks.
Good. We are coming at you from Ottawa, and we are experiencing some like pocket power outages. So we are hopeful that everyone's safe and has power and is warm. But we did want to go ahead and come at you with this live today. And for those of us who can't join in person, we will send through the recording.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is reminiscent of ice storm, and my kids' school is shut down. So yeah, definitely lots of power outages today. I think Hydro One said like 65,000 in the Ottawa region. So that's a lot.
So
And
feeling uber grateful to have power and to see some faces here today. Amazing.
awesome.
Okay.
Just a reminder too, if you are watching the replay or you're here with us right now, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can type in the comments or the chat and we will be happy to answer your questions anytime now or like after. If you're watching the replay, we can still be connected.
Perfect. So I am here today joined by my good friend, Tatianna Graham, and she is a mindful movement coach with over 10 years experience as a physiotherapist, yoga teacher, and mindfulness instructor. As a health practitioner who saw over and over again the struggles that women, especially working moms, were having with their mind-body connection after going through milestones like pre and postnatal, peri and postmenopause, she knew that active and preventative therapy was the key to successful healthy aging. With COVID and increased work from home, Tatianna saw a need to help women move their bodies effectively, reduce tension and stress, and overcome the sedentary ill effects of the pandemic. Her signature program, the Move with Ease method, helps busy working women achieve confidence in their bodies, establish a deep mind-body connection, redefine the stereotypical aches and pains of aging, and finally live freely. Welcome, Tati.
Thank you, Pamela. All right, so this is my good friend, Pamela Burwash. Pamela is a values and mindset coach, and she is ACC certified through the International Coaching Federation. As someone who used to look outside for answers, Pamela is passionate about helping women identify where they want to go and who they want to be by looking within and accessing their deepest wisdoms. After a successful 14-year career, Pamela left her corporate role to pursue a calling in her heart that was so strong. She felt she could no longer ignore it. After discovering her non-negotiable values, her path cleared and she had a clear vision for her future. Her values alignment framework was designed to help her clients get clear about their core values and non-negotiables for their life, to get clear about the next steps on their path.
Excellent. And fun story. So Tatianna is actually my physiotherapist, and we met while I was expecting my daughter, my second child, and I was in so much pain, hip pain, back pain, and with, the mindful movements and the breathing exercises and stretching, I touch wood, I am pain-free, which is so wonderful. So thank you for that.
And that's because of your hard work too. You do.
Well, thank you.
All right.
So remember just to, if you're live here on the call with us, just to share whatever you're inside of in terms of experiencing aging, maybe something that's weighing you down that we'd love to chat through and offer any expertise. Okay, so let's begin this Q&A section of the live. So Tati, you are a mindful movement coach. How does that really differ from your other sort of modalities and hats as physiotherapist and yoga teacher?
So obviously I can't really like separate them all, but I feel like as a mindful movement coach, I can combine them all. So throughout my evolution as a clinical therapist and then my own yoga path, I've just really been able to combine everything that I've learned through my clients, sort of to put together sort of the physical, the mental and the emotional components of like the whole person. And I know that through a mindful movement coaching space, I can address like that as a whole package and help them heal completely rather than just the physical or just the mental.
I love that.
So Pamela, tell us more about values and mindset coaching. How do you think mindset plays into redefining aging?
Well, similar to what you just mentioned there about the kind of the three parts, the mind, body, soul sort of connection, I feel like a lot of the clients that I've been working with, as well as myself, and I feel like in this sort of late 30s, early 40s, we can get into this space of redefinement. And I find personally that the pandemic has kind of accelerated this shift for some people, and people are at this point in kind of discerning where they are along their path. Does the path serve me? Am I kind of doing what I want to be doing? Am I living the way I want to be living? And so as we are this kind of mind body connection, mind body soul connection, I think the way we approach in terms of our mindset, how we come at our day, how we come our thoughts and how we approach aging, on how we use intention in our lives, all sort of wraps together to redefine or create a redefinition, really, around this time in our lives.
And it's kind of interesting, right? Because, we're all kind of in that age category. And I feel like before it was called like the midlife crisis. But like we're even redefining that word. Like it's not a crisis. It's just let's look at things in a different way to like help us feel good moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally resonates with me because I agree. I think it's the shift from maybe living without intentionality to living with intentionality, and that permeates, your mindset, the way you are moving your body, the way you are defining your role as a woman in your kind of late 30s up until your 50s, right? Again, going back to that bit of a redefinition, that shift, it's definitely not a crisis. It's this beautiful opportunity to get really in touch with what matters, which for me at the core is like good health and, my non-negotiables and those sorts of things. And again, that taps into that three-part being of that mind, body, soul connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So what led you to kind of well, not only just creating the Move with Ease method and being the mindful movement coach, but kind of tell us maybe a little bit about your past and what led us to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I won't make the story too long, but it's kind of funny as you like get older and you start reflecting on your life. And actually, like since I was little, movement has always been something that I was passionate about, but I didn't realize that it would be my like job passion. If you look at like home videos, I'm always like instructing my two younger brothers on like how to like do these like 80s fitness things that my mom was doing. Like she used to like tape it off TV. And then in high school, I taught hip hop. I actually learned dance really late, but ended up loving it. And then taught hip hop throughout university. And then became a physio and then loved yoga. So taught yoga in the community. And yeah, it's just movement has always been a part of my life. And I've always loved instructing it and helping people stay active. I
would imagine too, like as a physio, you're probably seeing the benefits of the movement as like with repetitive clients, for example, like you're seeing. Yeah,
exactly. And using it as the main modality. Like obviously that evolved as I became a better physio, but yeah, just like that's how the body heals the best is through movement. Which is really cool because you can do it yourself with some guidance.
I love that. And it's funny because I feel like that's a bit contrary to some of like the bits of information you can grasp all over, whether it's online or, from your parents or, yeah.
Yeah. And even still, like even some, healthcare practitioners, doctors, they're still like, oh, like rest. But that's not enough guidance. Like, how long do you rest? You should move other parts that aren't hurting. And that's where like there is a space for obviously for physios and movement coaches and that kind of stuff, active therapy. So, in the intro, we mentioned that you transitioned out of your corporate role that wasn't filling your cup any longer. What led you to the mindset coaching?
Hmm. I will kind of spare you the long-winded answer of this as well, but I have been into like professional development sort of things, personal development space in terms of like a passion for a really long time. I remember being, I think I was 13 when my
Ooh.
mom gave me a book that was called The Power of Subconscious Mind, and I was like super
Cool.
intrigued. And so for a long time I read all the books and I was like, oh yeah, I'm walking the talk, I'm walking the talk. But while that was happening, I was kind of feeling like unfulfilled, unfulfilled, unfulfilled. And it was we talk about at these transition points. So it started really for me when I went on maternity leave with my son. Oh, this is alive. I have a doorbell ring. Um,
You have to
so I
get
went on
it?
maternity leave, and I remember thinking, okay, when I come back, I'm going to have this vision for like where I'm going next. And I don't know if part of that was just being a new mom and just not giving myself the space to kind of explore that. I went back to the
Mhm.
same career. Fast forward a little more, have my daughter, same sort of story in my head, right? This is it. This is the time I'm going to kind of redefine myself. But for the longest time, I was looking at the books and I was like, hey, what did the books say? What did the book say? I wasn't really kind of asking myself what I wanted.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
it was so much easier for me, I say easier, to have someone tell me what to do. And so in the back of my mind, I had always wanted to become a coach.
Okay.
And finally got to a place where I was ready to make that jump. So it was really once I started doing the coach training where I learned about a values clarification. And for me, that was like the light bulb moment when everything clicked because it was okay, I have the foundation, I'm interested in this information, but where do I go next? I actually have to go inside.
Hmm.
So for me, that getting clear piece really made those steps forward that much easier. And getting clear about what's important to you really is a mindset hack, if you will, because you are dropping the shoulds, you are dropping the have tos and that sort of thing, right? And you're really focusing on what you as an individual can anchor into.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's so important on all sort of like angles of your life, right? Like once you strip away the externals, it's really about for you. And that's where you'll make the commitment because it is like you're the driving force, right? Like if it's for your health, it's about like what's inside, for example, not like fitting into the jeans or like keeping up
Mm,
with the neighbor or like whatever. Like it's really like at the root of like, no, this is like for my body. And then for your values, it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's just me. And like that's what makes me tick. That's what makes me happy.
yeah.
It's interesting like how when you strip away the shoulds and the coulds and all that, it really is just at the center.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And I
hard to get
almost,
there sometimes.
sorry?
It's hard to get there sometimes,
It
right?
is, and it's scary because it's so easy to live your life on autopilot, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like, you're humming along and you're like, okay, this is one example. I'm going to post-secondary, I'm going to university, I'm getting a degree, I am getting a job, finding a spouse, settling down, having children, and then sometimes it gets to the point where it's like, oh my, maybe, not that I don't want all of these things. These things are wonderful,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe my next step isn't here because I have to. It's actually here because I want to.
Yeah, the choice is there.
Yeah.
It's not always the easier path and it might be uncomfortable, but that's where growth happens. That's where
Mm,
good change can happen, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think again, to me, it comes down to the intentionality, right? So when you intentionally move your body, you intentionally show up for yourself in your life and the people that you care about. I think you will find that things shift to allow for, the beautiful things to show up in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
So you mentioned in your intro as well, so active and preventative therapy, that seems to be sort of a passion of yours. Tell me more.
Yeah. So a lot of people, see their people like their massage or physio or chiro, what have you, when they're injured. But there's actually a big role in preventative injury, or sorry, preventative therapy and active therapy because we want to prevent that injury from happening in the first place. So that's something I'm really passionate about. So a lot of my clients, because I've been practicing for a while, know that they can come see me whenever, even if they're feeling really good, but there's just this like little difference between their right and left hip or like a small something in their shoulder, but it's not preventing them from doing the activity or playing their sport. It's just really important to like stay on track. It's kind of like you maintain your car, right? Like
Mm.
you change the oil before it ruins the engine. Same as your body and your health. I think that our healthcare, well, everybody knows, especially with COVID, it's so reactive, but like let's be proactive with our bodies and do what we can. And that's what I'm super passionate about. So I'm all about active therapy, meaning movement intentionally to heal anything that needs healing or strengthen or keep things flexible. And then, yeah, preventative, as in let's not get to a point where we're so injured we can't move or do the things we love. And yeah, yoga I am a big proponent of yoga, and that's a very good tool and vehicle to help keep us healthy.
Love it. Love it. And so if you were to maybe give someone, or someone maybe is interested in like this type of more intentional preventative therapy, including yoga, and maybe hasn't ventured into that space, what would you suggest or offer to them?
Like how to start it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a hard sell, but I do it anyways. And it's just coming back to the basics. So how is your posture?
Mm.
Are you breathing? Are you breathing your three-part breath? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you stay till the end because it is part of the free guide that I will be providing is how to do a three-part breath and just connecting with your deep muscles. And it seems like you're doing nothing when you begin this. People really want to feel a bicep curl or like they're doing sit-ups and like that kind of stuff, but actually when you strip it down to the basics, you need to start with your foundation. It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation or the walls will crumble. Same as your body, you need that full access to your deep core and your breath, and that is where I would start a client. It's where I start all my clients. And actually when you slow down and pay attention, it's really cool how even that can strip away some of the tension, stiffness, and stress that you may carry and you don't even know you're carrying
I love
it.
that. It reminds me of, like working out, for example. It's so, you know, doing a strenuous workout, you're like, okay, I can feel the effects, I can feel the benefits. But
Yeah,
taking that rest day or doing the stretching, it might not seem as intense, but it is so important in your
yeah,
overall, right, in your ability to show up next and all of that.
absolutely.
And from a sort of a mindset and personal self reflection on that is that we can't continue to go,
No.
crazy. It's not an all or nothing thing. We've got to pace ourselves in a manner that we can show up as our best every day.
Yeah, yeah. It is, yeah, it's not all or nothing. And I
Yeah,
think that in itself is an important mindset shift.
absolutely.
Pamela, tell us a bit about your values-based coaching and how it allows your clients to have ease and clarity around their life.
So, as I had alluded to a little earlier, so the values clarification that I did has given me so much, or had given me so much clarity as to kind of where I should orient myself on my
Mhm.
next steps in my journey that I created the values alignment framework to help my clients do the same. And so really the intent with values-based coaching is that you discern for yourself what is non-negotiable, and then you let everything else drop away. Now, when I say that, it sounds all too easy, but it is in the work that you can really see how powerful it can be and how challenging it can be. Because it's not just figuring out what's important. It's about creating healthy boundaries. It's about creating rituals around self-care, and not self-care like fluffy self-care, like doing our nails and hair. It's like getting enough sleep, going to therapy, reading good books, connecting with people who you can have soulful conversations with, right? And learning what those self-care practices are for you. And so really, I feel like that gives clarity in that space of ease, in that space of pause, right? So when we're go, 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 living on autopilot, again, it's like you're almost operating from that fight or flight response.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Right. And then so when you can tap in and anchor into those values and use those as kind of your framework or your basis to make those next choices, you're coming at it from a place of intentionality. You are pausing, which is huge, and then you're responding. You're not reacting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So how would you what would you give a tip for someone to like just start that?
I think when you are starting fresh and maybe you don't even know where you are in terms of your values, think about maybe some of the stories that you hold, right? Think about what have you picked up along the way that you're using, but maybe it's not serving you. I'm going to give you an example. So for me, like the go, go, go achiever mentality, right? If I want to be successful, I have to, go like crazy. I have to sacrifice my sleep. I have to compromise relationships or relationship time, I should say, right? And that is a story. That is a story. And so if you want to get clear on the value piece, I always like to start with a bit of an inventory, right? And so that includes, what are these stories? Because some of them come from familial connections. When we're young, some of the programming that we have is really ingrained in us from when we were young. So some of it's great. Some of it maybe just needs to be challenged. Yeah. And so I usually ask people to reflect there, start there, get a sense of what are the stories they're holding. Are they serving you? And if they're not, then let's think about how we want to feel. And in those feelings, we can usually start to pick away and get clear about, okay, if I want to feel like this, then that is important to me. Right.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's so true that we carry those stories, but don't even know it.
Yeah. Well, and that's, again, I feel I'm saying the word intentionality so much, but I feel like, again, going on autopilot, just going, right? Without that stopping and pause, it's that pause where you can reflect, whether it's with your body or, on your path, on your journey. Yeah. And it just allows you the choice.
Yeah. It's hard to remember that there is the choice.
Yes.
When you're going, right? Like it feels like there's no choice. I have to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is our sovereignty. That is our personal sovereignty. We get to decide that. No one else. It's our lives. And I think sometimes just even like hearing that and having that as a reminder, it's like, oh yeah.
It's so true.
I can do that. Yeah. Seems simple. So I think a lot of people assume as you're aging and you're getting older and you're kind of stepping into this second chapter, or this next chapter, I should say, of your life, that it comes with like aches and pains. Like I know myself, sometimes I say to my husband, like, I'm at the age where I can injure myself sleeping.
Yeah, you have to bring your pillow everywhere.
Yeah. Tell me a bit more. There's memes everywhere. You're right. About what you mean by redefining aches and pains of aging.
Okay, well, what do you guys think of when you hear aging? And you can just type it in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, go ahead and type or comment what you think of when you hear the word aging and aging in your own body.
Well, I'll start if that's okay. Yeah, I would say for me, it's just kind of like those typical aches and pains, right? It's like the sore back, it's like the getting getting off the couch and having to kind of like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
prime myself to get going.
Yeah.
And then what typically comes to mind is like the vision or that I have of like people who are older in my life who may have not continued with movement. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that to me is like what aging is.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so exactly, like I think, and I see this a lot with, people in my life or clients or, like you said, people that you see, part of the reason that aging looks like it could be achy and sore and stiff, part of it's true. Okay, like we do have to oh, let me just see what Eli wrote in the chat. More challenges in maintaining mobility. Exactly. So, but you can maintain mobility is where I'm going. Like a lot of it comes with, as you age, we just tend to need intentional movement more. So you need to move more mindfully, but because we're not doing it, and then add on top COVID, everyone's working from home, so you're not even getting out of your house. Like you're not even doing that commute to work, which is more steps than you think, is more 3D movement than you think, right? Then you're stuck in this one plane at your computer, whether you're 35, 45, or 55. If you're not moving your body in all the directions, your back is actually like more than 50 joints. So think of like when you sit in a car for a long time, you like want to stretch your knees and your hips, right? Because you feel stiff. Sitting all day for work at a computer, which is what we all do now, all those joints are just stiff and unhappy because they haven't been lubricated through movement. So it's not really that aging means we have to live with aches and pains. It just means we have to be more intentional to move, to keep things moving. Motion is lotion. Everyone's heard that saying, but it's very true. And you can alleviate or avoid those kinds of symptoms through mindful movement.
Mm.
And that's what I mean by redefining, because like it's possible. It's just a little bit more work. It's not like you're 20 and you can just hop up and, oh, I did a hike today and it's good enough. I mean, it's good if you did a hike today, but you also need to mindfully move pretty much every hour that you're sitting at your desk. Yeah.
I completely resonate what you're saying in the sense of like being really sedentary. For example, I looked at my watch yesterday, and at the end of the day, I think I was at like 3,000 steps. Whereas
Oh
the day
no.
before, I had intentionally gone for a walk with a friend in the morning, and then
Yeah.
we walked the dog, and there was and yesterday was a bit weather related,
Yeah.
but it's not out of the ordinary for me to go, super, super crazy on the steps, lots of movement, and then a day that's a bit more sedentary. And it's on those sedentary days where I'm thinking, oh gosh, yeah, there's that low back again, or there's that twinge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's pretty wild, but there's a lot of research now, and this is like stuff I dive more deeply into in my program. But if you're sedentary for the majority of your week, like, you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 kind of thing, okay? But you do all your minutes of activity on the weekend because you have time. Like I think Canadian guidelines are like 150 moderate to vigorous minutes of activity. Even if you do that in a week, but you pile it all on the weekend and you're sedentary like most of your week, your body resists the exercise.
Ooh.
Like your metabolism doesn't change because so it's more about like interruptions and breaks when you're sedentary. And you don't have to be sweaty. Like you just have to like move in all the directions 30 seconds and then come back to your desk. It doesn't have to be hard. But it's so important that it's more consistent and frequent rather than just getting in the minutes. So it's like fine tuning those things too as we get older. It's really important.
Well, it's promising to hear that with those kind of like intentional movements and consistency, that it is possible to flow into this next space, feeling
Absolutely.
really great. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like you told us about how they would begin, which is awesome. How are people able to work with you?
Thank you. So I offer a couple of levels of support in terms of my coaching. I work one-on-one with clients in a 12-week program to get clear about what's important to them. And I'm super excited. I'm actually launching as of tomorrow my group program called Your Intentional Life. And it's
Ooh,
an
cool.
8-week group coaching program. Thank you. And excuse me. And so we're going to go into, what we talked about here, the intentionality, discovering what's important to you, how to put those boundaries into place, and all while coming together in community, which is such a beautiful way to experience this work. So going back to what you said before in terms of how do people get clear, part of what I will be gifting folks at the end of today is some reflection prompts on how to start uncovering what those things are for you, what those non-negotiable values are for you. So
Oh,
stay
love
tuned
that.
for the link on that. And absolutely, I mean, if you're interested in the group program and the one-on-one or just having a conversation really around what coaching is, it is very much empowering as the individual. You hold all of the answers, and I, as the coach, am here to guide you to your most inner knowledge. So if there's any interest on that, feel free to reach out on Instagram or on my website, which we will put later.
Amazing. That sounds
Right.
awesome. Hmm.
And how are people able to work with you, Tati?
Um, so through the Move with Ease method, it's a 12-week program that I've designed, sort of compiling all my 10 plus years of experience as a physio and yoga instructor, just really putting together what I have seen that my clients, particularly women, need for that deep mind-body connection to self, movement to heal, and just really kind of knowing how to move their body, like we've been saying over and over, in this intentional, mindful way, and knowing how to push yourself, but listen to your body. And a lot of it is through yoga. But with my experience and expertise, I can definitely modify it and make sure that you can participate. Everyone can do yoga. I know sometimes people are scared of the word, but yoga is really meant to be for you and your body and how you feel, and not about what the pose looks like, but how you feel. So I can help hold space for that and modify and adjust. And that is through the Move with Ease method.
Wonderful. Amazing.
All right. So let's see. Maybe what we'll do is send out the email with the links to the free guide. Yeah.
That sounds great. And what we'll do, because we know that so many of you that registered today weren't able to show, whether it's from the storm and the power that we're having, or power issues that we chatted a bit about at the beginning, but we'll make sure to include this, the link to the recording as well, or you can check out each of our social platforms for a link to that recording as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming and listening, and we hope this was helpful. Make sure you download both guides so that you can start your healthy journey into this second stage of life in a mindful, healthy manner. And we look forward to connecting with you guys.
Thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.